Hi, everybody. Welcome to Total Spotfest. I'm Jamie. That's JJ. And we have a special guest, the owner and operator of 2econd Wrestling, the great Rambino. Rabino. I said Rambino, like
Rambino.
Rambo. Rabino. Jeremy Fine.
Yeah.
If you keep
It's
saying it, it'll get better, Jamie. Just keep saying it.
I had it on lock until I literally just did it.
Jamie, you're close because it is a pun or a reference to the great Bambino,
Bambino. That's where I was.
Babe
Yeah.
Ruth, The Sandlot. And when I was coming up with a name for this blog, uh, big Sandlot fans, and when they go, the great Bambino, so that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Nice.
It's a stellar reference, and we do want to welcome you. This is our first man out of the cloth on Total Spot Fest. I mean, I am a pastor's kid. My father is a reverend doctor, but an actual rabbi with us here who is a wrestling promoter. How awesome is that? So, thank you, Jeremy, from 2econd Wrestling, for giving us some of your time. We appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Those are so far all true statements. So sounds good.
We'll try to keep them all true.
We'll get into like the untruths later on. So just for juicy gossip lore. So
Yeah.
So one of the things I would like to open up with is I would love to hear about 2econd Wrestling. I know based off like easy twittering and the Facebook, able to find that you are used to be with 1rst Wrestling, or you're very close with 1rst Wrestling, and it looks like this was an offshoot. So if you can kind of tell us your story, because it's like a cool story.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, I'm a rabbi. I've been a wrestling fan my whole life. Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, The Rockers. Used to go with my father. Sort of left it a little bit, came back to it in high school. Was sort of on my own. My best friend eventually came on board with me. Actually, I just told that story. I called into Cole Cabana's new podcast. So if you listen to Wrestlers Anonymous, that story was just told by the best friend. Anyways, so I kept watching it through college, and eventually, but I never went to an indie show. WWE. I think I went to one WCW show. I did watch ECW and that kind of stuff. And long and short of it, my wife bought me tickets as a surprise to a show in Chicago. We went. Had the best time. I fell in love with it. Besties in the world were on that show. Colt Cabana was on that show. Great, just a great show. And I was telling people about it, and a few of my congregants were very interested in the show, and they said, we should do a show at the synagogue. I said, that's crazy. They said, no, let's do it. We'll all come. And I said, well, I've been known to do some out-of-the-box thinking. Let's try it. And we decided to do it. We were going down the path with someone. It wasn't working out. Called Colt Cabana, who I've known for a while. Colt said, if you're going to do wrestling in Minnesota, you do it with Eric Cannon. And he was right. And so we came together for a show. We, had a really good showing at the door. Our second show in a blizzard on a Wednesday in Minnesota sold out, 400 something tickets. So we knew we had something special. His brand, if you've ever been to WrestlePalooza, which is one of the best shows that there is. If you ever get a chance to go to Minnesota for a wrestling show, go to WrestlePalooza. You will thank me later. But they were looking for some new audiences. So the synagogue has a beautiful space to use, lots of room for the wrestlers. And we built something really special. Even during the pandemic, we were able to keep the wrestlers safe and the audience safe, which indoors, which a lot of people weren't doing. And then eventually I departed from Minnesota and came to Chicago and started up my own thing. 2econd is both pays homage to 1rst Wrestling, but also to the second city, Chicago. So 2econd Wrestling, that's where the name comes from.
Yeah, I got it. When I first saw it, I mean, it hit me as the second city, right? So second city, 2econd Wrestling.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get all of the tie-ins, until digging a little deeper, but I think that's super awesome. And I know that 2econd Wrestling itself has been up and running since September, I believe. Is that correct?
We officially became a company, I believe, in October.
Okay.
And we've only had one show. It was in December, near sellout. We had a 220 person venue. I think we sold 208.
Nice.
Nice.
So we were very close to that number, and it was a great show. The main event was Colt Cabana and Darren Corbin, and we also the opening show was Eric Cannon Warhorse, which just set the tone for what we're going to be doing. We had some new faces to Chicago. Corey O'Neill, who's out in Texas, who's paying his dues, and we had him on the show. Shane Black, who's up in Minnesota, also his first time in Minnesota, and then we had some really great women wrestlers on the show. We had Blair Onyx and Billy Starks. Billy, who's in our tournament. Sierra, Free Range Kara. So it was a great mix of talent from mostly around the Midwest, and had a great opportunity to show sort of our brand, which may feel similar to fans of Second Wrestling because they're going First Wrestling, because they're going to see some of those same faces, and also to Chicago, but it's going to be a mix of some of the highlights, mostly of the Midwest, and then other acts who sort of fit in our brand.
Okay. Yeah, we got something similar. So in here, Jamie and I are we're in Kansas City, and
I'm actually wearing the Journey Pro shirt.
He's wearing it. Yeah, our signature. We have a couple of local promotions here, but the one that we've been going to the most has been Journey Pro over the years, and they're loosely associated, kind of in a similar fashion with St. Louis Anarchy. There's a lot of commonality between the ownerships and Matt Jackson, who runs St. Louis Anarchy, and Walter and DJ and Chris and Hartzell that run Journey Pro. So it's kind of a similar scenario where you see sort of same faces and different faces coming in from outside. So I think it's a really unique thing. You got into indie wrestling via your wife, not too distant future, and you probably have seen a little bit of that, especially when thinking about making your own promotions, about some of the territorialism of indie promotions, right? And how I'm not a big fan. We talked with some wrestlers in the past about that, but I think it's kind of cool that you don't really have an association while still being different. That's cool.
Yeah, I think we're really open to working with other companies. First of all, so far, our first show ran on another day that there were 2 other shows in Chicago, and we were all, I was in contact with one of the promoters. It was very nice. Actually, one of the wrestlers worked his show as well, came to our show and asked to be bumped up in the card to make both. And we did. We said, we want the wrestlers. The formula that I'm using is not, it might sound like rocket science, but it's not. You keep the fans happy, you keep the wrestlers happy, you keep the venue happy, and you keep your sponsors happy, and everyone wins. You don't get into independent wrestling to make tons of money, because you're not. But you get in it for the love of what you're doing and learning. I do believe I'm a student of this. I'm lucky to have some people in the business who have really helped me along. And, we would be very open to working with lots of places. ACW in Wisconsin, we could see ourselves working with, and Glory Pro, obviously 1rst Wrestling, we've already had a match. There's some people in Chattanooga who we've spoken to. So we're open to sort of, once we crown a champion, if we can be there. We're also potentially Mania weekend looking to put some of our wrestlers or even our belt on some of those shows if we can, so that we think it's good for everything. And wrestling's just so interesting right now that why not? Why would we limit ourselves? As long as our brand is kept solid, we're not going to run shows monthly. At least not for a long time, because of my full-time job. I just have too many people to take care of, right? So we're going to do our best to create content, put a match on to other shows if we can, to allow, as we do have those fans and build that base, they get excited for the next show because they've also seen us other places.
Okay.
That's cool. And then speaking of your brand, and I think this is a dying breed, honestly, in the world of wrestling. Right now, you are running family friendly. And I wanted to talk, what was that decision? I mean, obviously, I I have an assumption, but I obviously want to hear. And then, like, is there plans to maybe break from that, or you want to stay in that core of family friendly?
Yeah, so we're not just family friendly, we are kid friendly, which is very different. That doesn't mean that adults won't love our show, they very much will. I think everyone wants to see Eric Cannon and Warhorse tear it down.
Yeah.
Everyone
Good
wants
match
to
is a
see,
good match, yeah.
Exactly. But what we do differently for the kids, so we had raffles going on where you could win to ring the bell for a match. You could win a signed poster. We handed out toys when different characters came out that kids got really involved in, and it also has me playing a different role. The wrestlers understand the audience that they're playing to, and who we bring in is also very. That doesn't mean you won't see the Carver on our show. It just means you will see him maybe in a different way in which you've seen him on other shows. Same thing with Eric. The likelihood that you're going to see two guys in the middle of our ring drinking beer, not going to happen probably, but you will see us drinking Powerade if they want to sponsor. So you know how we can do it, and we have a lot of other ideas
Pepsi.
a lot of other ideas that we're working in slowly to the show. I think the coolest thing that we did at the first show was that we had a table. You remember those old school sort of cards that you would get, not like playing cards, but like you'd get a sheet with like who's wrestling who, like the match cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old, you know, you don't see them as much anymore.
No.
So to way to get the people to know who all these wrestlers were, new fan base, we hand those out and we put them on a table for kids with a box of crayons, and whichever kid drew the coolest venue or coolest coloring got free tickets to the next show. And so there was,
That's
kids
cool.
put those out. So to make, the matches might be a little shorter because the attention span of a child is a little shorter. Although our attention spans today are also shorter, but that's a different commentary for a different time. So, you'll see a lot of that. I do believe at some point we will do what we'll call like Parents' Night Out, which will be a little racier.
Maybe more like your standard indie show, sort of.
Yeah.
Along those
exactly.
lines.
Yes, but we'll be meticulous when we do that and how we do it. But until we really sort of bring the excitement to these families, I think where I live specifically, there's a lot of structured play. You go to your sport, you go to your music lesson, you go to your dance lesson. And I believe like kids need to have imaginations. And so one of the reasons we have a kid-friendly show is because I bonded with my daughters over this. They didn't pick up football with Dad on Sunday as much as I would have liked. They love baseball for the hot dogs, but like in wrestling, they can sort of dream and imagine with me, and there's the impetus for doing, a show like this.
Yeah, and as a father of four,
He has 4 daughters.
4 daughters, all daughters. I appreciate this a lot because, I mean, GCW's for me, MLW for me,
We just got back
hard.
yesterday from we went to Pro Wrestling Revolver and it ended with death match as the main event.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's more for me. It's like I don't have that with the kids, and like I have one daughter who's an avid wrestling fan. She's also an athlete, so like to your point, plays softball competitively, has hitting lessons and all this stuff. And then my youngest is 6 and she's dying to go. And it's like, I want to take you, but I can't take you to this one because there's going to be lots of blood and stuff. I don't know if you're all ready for that, so I appreciate this type of old school, family friendly, especially to your point, kid friendly. It's really great.
It's hard to get kids, and I don't have any children, and I feud with Jamie's old daughter that's in the athlete because we compete for a fake belt that we made for pay-per-view picks, and she beats me my Christmas present was a framed picture of her with all the belts because she just beats me left and right. But it's like I think it was so easy because we were all around the same age. It's so easy for us to kind of get involved in wrestling because it was very singular at the time, back in the 80s and early 90s, right? It's on TV. You had Monday night, and then you had Saturday night main event. If you lived in the right area of the nation, you got to see kind of that Saturday mid-morning or that late morning Mid-South, on Turner, which is where I got introduced to Ric Flair when I was 11 years old and fell in love with Southern wrestling. But now it's so, with the internet and everything out there, is a different world, and going to it, it's kind of an interesting way to get people into wrestling at a young age, but also, like, I think that's awesome. Give them a thing to do, because you can't really take kids to if you can, but you gotta just be exposed. They're getting exposed to the F word and blood and boobs and whatever else for 3 hours, and if you're cool with that, well, that's your parenting style, but, I think that's awesome.
So my girls have been to a SmackDown, an NXT show. I mean, they've obviously been to my shows, and then they went to AEW. Okay. And to be honest with you, I'm very into AEW. They were not. We were in Chicago when that 20-minute talk off between CM Punk and MJF, and I am loving it. And my kids were like, "This is so boring. They're using bad words," And I realized, and then I went to Raw, and I realized how much my kids love seeing Charlotte. They even love the firecrackers when Goldberg came out. I mean, they love these things. It's a different product, and that's okay. And you can have different flavors. So the offer is to you. If you want to bring the kid, you call me, let me know. We'll figure out the tickets, okay?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a drive.
It is. It's Chicago. You can make a whole weekend of it.
Well, we will be up in Chicago for sure. So we started last year. We went to All Out weekend, and we did a little bit of it, but this year we're definitely making it a longer trip because we missed at least 4 or 5 other things that we wanted to do while we were up there. So we're definitely going to make it a whole thing. But speaking of Chicago, whereabouts you have a video on YouTube, kind of your introduction about who you are, what 2econd Wrestling is, and you mentioned North Shore. So you're on the north side of Chicago, is that correct?
Yeah, we're in the north suburbs. So right now our first 2 shows, because the venue has been such a great partner, have been in Northbrook, Illinois.
Okay.
But we'll serve, Highland Park, Deerfield, Vernon Hills, Arlington Heights, Buffalo Grove. These are all suburbs that actually no one's really playing. According, when we talk to Cole Cabana, some other people in the area, no one's really, like Matt Nix and others, no one's really playing up here. So that's good that, we're sort of in our own element. And there are certainly venues who we've reached out to. We're in negotiations for other shows. Just the first venue has been just such a great partner that going back, literally the day after the show is like, when's number 2? And when a venue is excited about that, how do you turn that down, right?
That's a great situation to have.
Yeah. So I the hard part for us would be if we did go to the city, let's say, because I live in the suburbs, unlike the promoters who are in the city. Like I would, to promote the show and to make connections, I'd have to be out there all the time. It's not that it's that far, but in Chicago traffic, it's however long it's going to take. So.
Well, it's only an hour and a half drive. Oh, okay, yeah.
Every day for a 2-minute meeting.
I understand.
Yeah, so I could see us one day, really, maybe if we could come to a situation where, like you said, All Out, there's a lot of different shows running, and we're just one of them. Great, then I'm open to it. But right now, it seems why not, canvas this area, do our best to do well here, and then see if we can take it elsewhere. And I'm also open to going to other states. We've talked to, I don't know that it's going to happen, but we've talked to some people in Dallas who think we could partner with. Very much so. WrestleMania, the next year, 2023. I think there will be a likelihood that there will be a 2econd Wrestling show in LA. I think that is a spot in which my connections out there would be, great. It's WrestleMania weekend in California. All the wrestlers will be there, so I don't have to really fly anyone in. I could see us very easily doing a show next year. I mean, this is a little premature for us. We've only done one show. So.
Right. Well, it's good to think ahead, and those are definitely for independent wrestlers that it's become two now, because there's always has been WrestleMania week was the thing, right? It's like I'm gonna be in Tampa, or New York, LA, Chicago, Dallas, wherever WrestleMania is, right? And you're gonna have like 8 shows going on, right? And I know it's been morphing a little bit, and then now there's the WrestleMania week, and there's also All Out week starting to become like that too, So it makes a lot of sense, to kind of do that. Just a side note, we do have some guys in Kansas City that we could get you in touch with, FYI.
Yeah, please do. We'd love to. We're really very much open to partnering as long as it makes sense. We're going to crown a champion on March 6th. Most
cool.
likely the tournament will be over. We've had a lot of card subjects to change for this tournament already. So Trevor Outlaw, who we're very excited about, tours MCL as ACL. So
he
right
did
before the tournament. Yeah. So he's out.
We've seen him live. He's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, he's excellent, and has done some backstage stuff for us. But he, unfortunately got scrapped from the show. We replaced him with Warhorse, and so we're learning quickly. And also, even the match we had at 1st Wrestling, second wrestling at 1st Wrestling. That sounds confusing, but it happened. It was a 10-man battle royal, and the winner leaving, and there was a small COVID outbreak. So some of the people who were in that match also. I mean, so it's been subject to change, and I'm learning that on the fly, I guess, and hopefully we'll get a champion sooner or later so that we can start promoting it a different way.
So yeah, that's actually a great segue, because I would love to talk about your next show, March 6th. It's called Flood Zone.
Yeah. So as like you said, you're a preacher's kid. So all of the shows will likely have some sort of biblical reference. That's going to be the Rabbi and Me. The first show is creation. People are like, oh, it's so creative because it's your first one. I'm like, yeah, but it's also because
also the first thing in the Bible.
This is the first day.
Right. So then what happens after? So the other idea for the show, but unfortunately, as I mentioned to you guys before, that AEW is running a show. We very much would love to have Serpentico. We've only heard the best things about him come, and I'm just maybe I'm name dropping that because we're putting it out to the universe that it happens, and I have this idea that we'd call it the Serpent's Garden, right? But since he's not there,
that'd be great.
What happens next? The flood. So it's Flood Zone, and played around with different ideas around the flood or the ark, etc. So, people are like, oh, now I want to see all these shows because it'll be, and I'm like, yeah, there's going to be some biblical themes in it. Otherwise, like, what's the point of me, the rabbi doing all these besides losing money, right? So,
I mean, it's not necessarily, this isn't a God-themed evening, but it doesn't mean you can't have religious kind of tones, because they put on by a rabbi at a synagogue. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, our shows are not at a synagogue.
Oh, so only that first one. Okay, I got what you're saying.
No, they're at a synagogue for 1st Wrestling.
1st Wrestling,
I was the rabbi.
Okay.
They are not at the synagogue where I am now in Chicago because our ceilings are way too low. That's the biggest reason. This is at a Jewish community center, which is like a YMCA.
Yeah.
So there's one in Kansas City in Overland Park.
Yep.
So,
yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. So there's
a great place for Journey Pro.
We're not against doing that. I think for us, it's like, where do the fans want to see? What are unique venues that give us different ways to be creative? There will be times in which, because of who I am, we're going to have potentially 2 Jewish wrestlers face off and have a Jewish Heritage Cup or something like that. Representation is important. No, representations is important. We have a lot of this came up a lot over the last couple of years, And oftentimes I do feel that like Jews are left off that, even though, people be like, that's not true. You have Paul Heyman and MJF and Cole Cabana. I'm like, all right, the list, starts waning after that. But there are, Macho Man, Dean Malenko, Kelly, Victoria. I mean, there's a handful and they're great. But how do we, create, that's not, and the rabbi's in the show, which is probably enough, right? So no, the shows won't be biblical in any way or religious in any way. This is open to anyone. But what it does do is create conversations like, that's your rabbi? He's enjoying life and not just sitting and studying and preaching all day. And, like he has interests and he wants people to talk. I mean, the biggest thing and the biggest lesson I learned from 2econd Wrestling when we did the show in the synagogue, how many people met a rabbi for the first time? How many people stepped foot in the synagogue? And how many questions were asked, and in an appropriate way. And in a world, especially what we just saw in Texas, in a world where people don't know each other and don't talk, we got to open those doors for conversations. We got to meet new people.
Yeah.
And wrestling is one of the best platforms to do that.
Well, I think it's, absolutely. I mean, I know growing up, as we talk about, in the same, as a pastor's kid, I'm going to have friends over for dinner, just for example, I'd be talking to my dad like a dad. And, I say something, I'd be like, oh, I can't talk to them. They're full of shit. And you can't talk to a pastor like that. Like, that's my dad, And it's like, I know a lot of people who aren't Jewish hear the word rabbi and they see a guy in a black suit with the curly bangs and the big white beard, right? And it's like, I through my father, I've known, rabbis in Jewish families before and everything. And to me, it's nothing out of the ordinary, but I know that, the kind of perception is one thing, but I think that's awesome because like you said, there are those in wrestling who are very proud of their Jewish heritage, but that list is on TV very short. But I think it's awesome to kind of just have that. This is not just a certain thing. Just like, and don't want to diverge, but kind of talking a little bit about Jonathan Gresham. This past weekend had Terminus, which let's be honest, that that's in Atlanta. It's a black run promotion with a lot of blacks. It's wrestling isn't just this built into a box anymore, and I kind of like that idea. It's one of the reasons that we love Journey Pro so much is it's not so much about, the standard, this is what a wrestler is. This is what a wrestling promotion or a wrestling show is. So I think it's awesome to do something a little bit different. Even, like I said, titles of names themed after biblical events. That's awesome.
Yeah. Even if 5 people have a different perspective on the world and a better one, or can ask me questions and feel comfortable. And it does happen, right? I put out a statement on Saturday or Sunday morning on our Twitter page about, 2econd Wrestling did it as, there's a statement from Rabbi Fine about what happened. And I'm not big on making wrestling political. I don't want to use it as a platform for me to preach. I have plenty of people to preach to. But like, if the owner of the promotion is a certain way, and very much all I'm asking for is so that people have dialogue. And I think that's been the beauty of the wrestlers I've gotten to know. A lot of them will only call me rabbi. It's hilarious. I'm like, no. Like, you don't have to I'm not your rabbi. But, a lot of them do. And, I was in Minnesota when the George Floyd events were happening. And I reached out to a lot of them and just told them, I don't know where your pastors are today. I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't know. I literally do not know. So if you need clergy just to vent, like, I'm here for you. Cool. And I want them to know that. And so, it's a new element. Flood Zone is just another, I think, step for us. It's fun. This is the easiest one to do because it's really easy. When you're teaching Bible, you start the kids, you start creation, and there was a flood and an ark and all these animals. So it makes sense for us.
Well, I would argue. I think the easiest one would be when you have your parents' night. You can call it an introductory study of Sodom and Gomorrah.
That would be a very racy show.
It's an introductory study. It's not.
Let's put it this way. What do they say in the wrestling business? Never say never.
Right?
Just saying. I thought that'd be funny. All right.
Yeah. So let's talk the card. Let's talk the card for a Flood Zone. So last
Card
I
subject
saw
to
is,
change.
yeah,
Please.
you have Eric Cannon going on in your tournament for the champion, and you also had Billy Starks going up in is it a women's title as well?
No, it's all one. Our championship
it's all one.
will be open to
yeah.
be intergender.
Intergender. Okay. Cool.
I think over time, I don't think we'll have a men's and a women's. I think we'll just have one heavyweight championship belt. But I hope to add either a second belt or tag team belts.
Okay.
Eventually, I have a really what I believe is interesting idea to have tag team belts. In a way that I think isn't done, but I'm going to save that in my back pocket for a later day.
You got to subscribe to him and follow for more for that, y'all.
Yeah, so I think eventually we'll have tag team belts, and I'm excited about those. And so, we're going to crown champion. So it's Riley Jackson was the winner over at 2econd Wrestling when we were a part of their show, and he's really up and comer in the Minnesota area. If you don't know Riley Jackson, this is a great opportunity to come see him while you're in Chicago, wrestle, and he and Billy will. It's going to be a great match. I do not believe they've ever gone one-on-one with each other.
Okay.
And then Eric Cannon will be wrestling not Matt Raywalt, who did qualify. We're going to give Matt an eventual opportunity at that belt because unfortunately he is at Impact Tapings. Fortunately for him, he's at Impact Tapings. Unfortunately for us, he's at Impact Tapings. And so we just announced this is airing next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if it's next week, former ROH wrestler Dak Draper will be his replacement. So we
love Dak.
We
love Dak.
Yeah. We followed Dak ever since he was here in Kansas City doing NWL for a good spell, and yes, that's awesome.
He's one of the good ones for sure.
Love me some Dak.
If I could just wax poetically about him for just a second, just so you know what kind of person you're getting in this guy. Legit, every time we've seen him, I met him one time, and he remembered who I was, asked me how I was doing, everything, and I was just blown away. And then every time I see him, and he's always been one of the nicest people I've ever met. No, you got a good one there. I am excited.
Quinn's had to
that
pull
Dak
him
Draper
away.
awesome.
Like you've been. We need to leave. You can't say you're saying hi to everybody. We need to. He's fantastic. So that's awesome.
I don't know that he's going to be so nice to Eric Cannon.
Oh no, bro. Once that bell rings, it's different.
Boy can go. Yeah, we saw an amazing match between him and frontman Jossie at Journey Pro.
It was so good.
It tore the house down. It was so good. And I saw that, I mean, at 2econd Wrestling, Joss, frontman's been there a few times, and he is just charismatic as all get out. That match just tore the house down, and you got a good one for sure.
Yeah, 2econd, I believe, is Jaws in Minnesota. That's his home promotion. I've seen him on 10 shows minimally. Also, he can absolutely go, and he was the second to last eliminated in that over the top battle royal. So he did have a shot. It was really an incredible battle royal. It had Rennie D and Riley Jackson, Shane Black, who had already been at our promotion. Heavy Metal Lore, if you've never seen him, he came back. He hadn't wrestled since the pandemic started. So it was a heavy, really great, 10-man over-the-top battle royal, and Riley earned it, and used some leverage to get over.
Earned it in a way, we'll say.
Yeah, let's just say he's coming to 2econd Wrestling and wrestling for the title. That's
so
what we need to know.
Are those going to be semifinals then, and then you'll have the finals
that will be
later
semifinal. The plan is to have finals later that day. Although, as you know, card is always subject to change. But yes,
I love when promotions do that. I think that's great.
Yeah, and we've already announced that Pick and Pop will be back. They're an up and coming tag team in the Chicagoland area. Darius Luttrell and Coda Hernandez. We've announced Lady Luck. So she'll be
She's
having
awesome.
her first appearance, the party unicorn, and and
Kids
then
love
we
her.
also one of my favorites in wrestling so far that I've come across, and his story is just incredible, is Zach Allen, former WWE superstar. So he'll be making his debut for us, and Zach is an incredible talent and we're just great stories. So we're excited to have Zach by us, and I imagine we'll see him several times at Second Wrestling over the years.
Cool. Well, so card subject to change. We know. Hey, this
Card
is
subject to change, and we're not done.
this
We're
is
not
gonna
done
happen.
announcing talent.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like we said, we just got back from a show in Iowa, and Sammy Callahan's promotion. He literally came out and kind of told us, it's like, we had all this stuff planned, COVID, weather, this. We got these things still happening, but everything else is brand new. Surprises all night long. So I mean, it's just the world we live in, y'all. So.
It was 2 matches who held together, and everything else was.
It was the
basically
main
brand
event.
new.
There was Jonah versus Brian Cage, which, oh my god, that match.
Did the ring hold up? That's a heavyweight.
Barely.
That's a heavyweight.
There was a superplex where we all were iffy on if it was going to make it.
Yeah, that was a lot of man meat in there.
They had surprise all over the place, but it's going to be that way for So yeah, cards have to change, but it sounds like an awesome evening. Let me ask you this. I mean, sure, you could put out there big names. You want to get the biggest Hangman Adam Page or whoever else is there. But thinking about like as you're going forward in Second Wrestling here, still in his first year, who are some of the people that you think would like to get, that realistically, you think would be a good fit for the promotion, that you think would add good storylines to what you guys got going on for the near future? Who are some people that you haven't worked with before that you'd like to bring in?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, if I as many times as I can have Cole Cabana, I'll have him back.
Cole's awesome.
He's
Cole's
just
so
the
good.
best. But there's who if I just like dream booking, I think we'd love to figure out a way to get Orange Cassidy on our show. I think
kids love him.
Yeah, I think they would just eat it up. As a rabbi, obviously MJF is like the guy I would love to have. I'm not sure he's so kid friendly.
He's not kid friendly, but
he'll be on the Sodom and Gomorrah
introductory study in the Sodom and Gomorrah. Yes.
Orange Cassidy is definitely up there. Someone who's back on, and we did talk. He's going to be out of the country. Someone we did talk to about this show is Scotty Tuhati. I would love to have him on our show. There's some smaller guys who, wrestlers out there who I think would be a lot of fun. I think Heather Monroe would be great. I'm a big fan of Royce Isaacs. Over the years, I think he's been great. There's some others, even there's a guy named Jackson Stone in Texas who I think would be nice for this crowd. So we've Jaden Newman, who I have worked with before, but can really go. JDX, who is now in Atlanta.
JDX is amazing.
Amazing.
Yes.
And Alex Zane is someone else we'd like to work with.
We met Alex Zane.
Yeah, he's great. And we've talked to a lot of these people, but as you said, Chicago in March, there's a lot of ifs there, and if we can find people who can drive. That's great. I could see us bringing in Yellow Dog and Cold Stone, Tim Boston from Omaha, and there's others that are not too far that we have our eye on. Kayla Cassidy, who's in Indianapolis. There's a good handful of people.
What about the Martin brothers?
The Martin Dante and Darius. So yes, when Darius is back, for sure, we would like to have Top Flight. They're always on our list. I mean,
they're hot right now, so I get it.
Yeah,
it's tough,
if they're not on your list, you're not watching wrestling.
Exactly.
Right.
What's really amazing, so I could obviously go down the list of AEW. Someone I would love to, who I just think has, he's starting to do some stuff out there, which is really exciting to someone like me who wants to work with these. Every time it's sad, obviously, when WWE releases these people and they lose their income and their jobs, right?
Right.
Of course, I don't make light of it in any way, but I always text Cannon right after. I'm like, okay, here's my card. And I just name all the guys. So it's like, you're out of mind. But there's someone who's in AEW, like someone like Santana. I'm not sure he's necessarily the best fit for like a super kids show, but I'm just a huge fan of his. I don't know that LAX, whatever we want to call them, Santana Ortiz, ever splits up. They may be a tag team for life, but if that guy's ever given a singles push, there's no reason he can't be the AEW champion. He's got it all. So
he really does.
Yeah. But I think if I was to pick that dream guy for us, I think I could see it being
okay. That'd be cool. Cool, interesting.
Yeah.
Not who I would have picked. So I would have. That's cool. I mean, I think I think it'd be cool too. We have very distinct flavors of wrestling that we prefer the most between Jamie and I. Jamie likes very technical matches. He's a submission hound. I made him a Lion Tamer t-shirt because he's had a 3.5, almost 4-year feud with Jeremy Wyatt here in Kansas City to get him to do a Lion Tamer. It's going swimmingly for Jamie because he hasn't got one, but he's got under his skin.
JDX gave me one for Christmas. That was my Christmas present.
Very brief. It was fantastic. But I'm very much a flippy spinny guy. I like lucha. He's like, Jamie's more Japanese, right? I like more of the Mexican flavor, so flippy spinny stuff. I've been super impressed. I know someone newer to my knowledge I've only really seen here in the past month or two. We got to see live is Speedball Mike Bailey. Dude is amazing. But like him, and that's why I love the Martins. I know are in such demand, but I love them. I think every show needs more flippy spinny stuff.
If we go that route, I mean, one of my favorite, he's on the shelf right now to watch, is Ray Phoenix. I saw him at that first indie show that I went to, and when my kids come and they don't like AEW, I always say, okay, but you gotta watch Ray Phoenix because he's exceptional. What he does in the in-ring,
he's not human.
Exactly. He just and it's a really horrible accident. It sounds like he's going to be okay. Thank goodness.
It wasn't broken. So he's
but less time. I think he's going to be on the shelf.
Okay.
And so obviously, if we could get someone, but these are thinking out loud, and I'm sure there's a lot of independent wrestlers who would love a shot at Ray Phoenix as well.
Yeah.
So
kids also like Jurassic Express would be fun. I mean, there's a lot you can do there for the kids. And
do you go into them thinking more about making it just as a good card, good match? Are you looking at this as like trying to get specific things for kids? Maybe not for the whole show, but maybe like this match is going to be really good for the kids. I think. Do you go into it with that mindset?
My mindset is to have at least one match on the card for everybody.
Okay.
So, for those who, this show is a little more complicated because half the show is already booked by the tournament.
Yeah.
So this one's been a little more complicated in the things I want to do. I also try to have local talent because I want to give them an opportunity. I also am trying to give at least one new wrestler who just reaches out to me a spot on the card, which a lot of promoters will tell me is crazy, and that's fair. They have more experience, but if I make that calculated risk and put them in the right spots, because what does every independent wrestler want for the most part?
They want opportunity.
Exactly. And if every imagine I was an independent wrestler, which I was never, but imagine I couldn't get a spot on any show besides the promotion I was trained until I was, well, how do I grow? How do I challenge myself? And so, the first show, that was Corey O'Neill and Shane Black. Two guys never wrestled in Chicago. Shane I happen to know from my time at 2econd Wrestling. But Corey was a great example. It just got me at the right time. Every Monday, I watch any match that's sent in to me. Even if I think it's going to be garbage, I watch it, and I give the person a chance. And at this point, some of the, and what I would say to people who want a spot on 2econd Wrestling, which we are open to doing, is like, understand our brand. We are kid focused. So as I said to you guys, if like I click on your match and it is blood and guts, or I click on your match and you're cutting a promo about things that I don't want my kids, your 4 daughters and my 2 daughters to hear, it ain't getting on the show.
Right.
And I appreciate your time and I appreciate your craft, and that might be something I want to watch, but that's not the show I'm producing.
Cool.
Yeah, like perfect example at one of the shows that Journey Pro put on. They did one that was outside, and it's called Weekend at Journeys. It was a fun show.
Is it a baseball diamond? A softball diamond? It was cool.
I saw the flyer for that. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh no,
so
Weekend Journeys. That's the one that was at the park.
Weekend Journeys. Yeah, it was at Lincoln. Yeah, it was at Lemonade Park, and it was their first family-friendly show. Like it was their first family-friendly, and
middle of the day. I
middle of the day.
I still have sunburn lines from it.
And I have to give a shout. Like the kids loved a few of the wrestlers. Kenny Alfonso is the first one that comes to my mind. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kenny. He is amazing, and he's gonna be a big name someday. And like it's just fun to see that kind of thing. Like the kids gravitated towards this guy naturally and organically. And it's just like, man, I see what you're saying. Like because they're getting that opportunity, especially in front of kids, and that's what they want. Like kids wanted to get their picture with them. It's like, man, that is so cool,
So that is what was really, a lot of new faces, a lot of new fans. There wasn't, and admittedly, there wasn't like I don't believe a ton of merch sold, because I think people didn't know what to do, and they've only seen these people on one show. But there were highlights that if you watch, obviously Colt Cabana, everyone wanted to meet Colt Cabana. But Aaron Corbin was in a minimum 2-minute shouting shut up match with kids in the audience, back and forth, back and forth. And one person went up to the venue and said, "This is the best thing you've ever run here. The best thing." They've been open for 30 years because the interaction, the kids were so excited. The toys we handed out, kids running around, talking to the wrestlers. Someone like Free Range Kara was so great with the crowd. There's a guy here, Alfonso Gonzalez, who was on the show. He's an up-and-comer that we also, were excited about. And he gave some excitement there, too. So there was a lot of that. We're bringing in the right people, I think, to do that. And, depending on where we are in the next couple of weeks with, we've had a lot of wrestlers that we've basically said, I can't book anyone else at this point, because until the uptick goes down and people start, people are going to certain things, but they're not necessarily going to house shows, and there's been a lot of shows canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can see that decline in the next 2 weeks, we'll ramp that up a little bit, hopefully put out some more names out there. But we've stopped for the moment, and we have a great core that no matter what we could work with.
Right. We got enough time too. Hopefully everything, knock on wood. So
hopefully it starts going down. Omicron starts going down, and things start to level out, and people can just enjoy their normal lives again.
For the most part. All right. Well, Jamie, did you have any sort of variants of our favorite games prepared?
You kind of went down the path with the fantasy booking.
Right,
I kind of wanted to go there.
When he gets there, just so you know, so this is what we do. So whenever we have guests on, Jamie and I do this anyway, just kind of by ourselves. But Jeremy, whenever we have guests on, we like to play what we like to call the impossible games. So we have a couple of things here, some impossible choices for you to make live in front of the internet and the world to see. So I'm going to let Jamie take it away and kind of lay it out for you and give you one. I have another one too that I'll pull out, but Jamie, why don't you start?
All right. So you're an old school wrestling fan. So we are going to play a fun little game called Feud, Faction, or Fire. So basically you can feud with this individual, you can faction with them, or... Yes.
Me personally?
You personally. Or they get Thanos out of existence, they're fired, they're no longer in the wrestling business ever again.
It's a variation of the Love, Marry, Kill. So.
Kiss, Marry, Kill. Yeah. Kiss, Marry, Kill. All right. So, MJF. Colt Cabana. Victoria.
just pull. Let's go.
I love all these people.
He name dropped him earlier. That's why I used
yeah,
it.
and I have.
You did.
I did the Great Rubino. If you want to go back before he was a star, I did interview MJF. The other two I know. So well, I can't not faction with Colt Cabana. That would just be too fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to, and I think we would. The Rabbi and Colt would do fairly well together. And who doesn't want to feud with MJF? I mean, everyone wants to feud with them. So unfortunately, in this case, and it may be this case only, would I fire Victoria? But I am a huge fan. That's only because you took like two of my 3 favorite wrestlers of all time and put them in the same game. So
I know.
That's the point.
Like if it would have been Macho Man and not Victoria, I probably would just shut off the screen. I don't know if I could.
Well, then we'll change it to Macho Man.
You went the wrong way, dude. You went the wrong way.
I was thinking about doing Mach. It's like, yeah, no, Victoria. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's the exact same way I go.
Okay.
Colt is like the best human like I've ever met at a wrestling show.
We were kind of like somehow just by happenstance ended up like hanging out with him before All Out because they had the little side party jobber over there at the arena, and where we were standing watching the show is kind of where Colt's like setup area was. So we just kind of just hung out with Colt. And he did his radio show, and they came back over and started signing audio autographs and stuff. He's such the nicest guy there.
Fun fact, I was there too.
We definitely saw each other some way or another.
So
I had the most fun at that thing. I didn't think I was going to like that at all. That little side party was probably my favorite thing of the whole weekend.
So great story. I was supposed to go to that with a buddy. He canceled as I was on my way there. Okay, to the side party.
Right.
He could make the show. We actually ended up getting box seats to the show. A friend called. He's like, "Listen, I got extra room in the box because of COVID." We're like, "Oh, we can sit by ourselves," and so we did it. But at that show, I went over. So I was an athlete a little bit in high school. So a lot of wrestling fans are not athletes when they were in high school. Let's put it that way. And went over. There was a dunk tank where you could dunk the
gun
guns.
club.
yeah.
And meet Billy. So I was like, I want to love a picture for my collection with Billy Gunn. So you throw the ball. The first one I threw it so hard it knocked him in, even though I didn't hit the thing. And they all look at me like, okay, well, we've had one guy who could throw here today. So it was like, I was like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't throw the rest of these balls.
Funny story. I was vaping just off to the right of that when that happened.
Yeah, I was standing just a little bit away.
Because you were in line to get me because it was your turn to buy beer and water. So you came back with like beer and water for us, and I was standing over there, and we saw that. Small world,
very small.
And then I got in a shouting match with JD Drake over what barbecue is better, Kansas City or North Carolina barbecue or South Carolina barbecue.
That's still going on too, by the way. That's still going on.
Yeah.
It was funny.
My Impossible Game is going to have a precursor question because we didn't really dive too much into other than wrestling, But would you consider yourself a movie guy or a music guy? If you had to choose one.
Movies.
You're a movie man. All right. So here's the question. You are on a abandoned island for the rest of your life, right? And there's other people there with you, but you are there and you are in charge of entertainment because there is a TV, and on this TV are very specific rules. You get to choose a movie that'll run continuously all day, every day until the end of time. And then a movie that'll play once a year. What are those two movies?
Whew. If I could choose one movie that would play all the time.
Movie you could watch whenever you wanted, basically.
Well, it sounds cliche to do this. I might say Endgame, because there's just so many different characters. I'm a big Marvel fan. It's not my favorite of all time, but if I was going to play a movie continuously, it's got to have some intrigue, some humor, different characters, some fantasy, some Easter eggs, right? If I'm going to play one movie once a year, I'm going to say Rounders.
Ooh,
Oh, I love Rounders. I just
movie.
watched it
Such
the
a
other
good movie.
day.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's such a good movie.
It is. It
Check,
really
check,
is.
check all night long. Oh yeah, love that movie. As a poker player, yep.
And I think
Right
it's a
there with you.
good balance to Endgame, where like once a year there's something like different, but it's interesting and there's different the character. I mean, it's one of the most incredibly like the performances in those movies from all of them are just. Another poker movie that I loved is Molly's Game.
Okay,
by,
yeah.
Aaron Sorkin. If you haven't seen that, you should definitely see
I like to pick a Endgame too because it's like personally, as a giant nerd that I am, with my Star Wars and Batman tattoos, I think Infinity War is the better movie, but I think Endgame has got the better ending on it.
Yeah.
So
I
that's a movie
just
to play
picked
all
it.
the time. I get where you're coming from.
I actually think it's the second best Marvel movie of all time, behind the newest Spider-Man. I thought the newest Spider-Man, the only flaw in the newest Spider-Man was that it was the Sinister Five, when they could have just easily made it the Sinister Six. I don't know why. But there's got to be a reason they didn't. There were rumors that Venom was supposed to be in the film the whole time.
Well, they keep dangling this Venom's connected. He's not connected. The Tom Hardy Venom who.
Well, now we know that Venom is in the MCU because he left behind this symbiote. But there's the movie was just so good, and I saw it twice the first weekend. And there's a reason it's the only movie that like made money during the pandemic
and made like pre-pandemic money. I mean,
because it was that
good.
And Black Widow was good, but it wasn't that good.
It wasn't no.
Yeah, I liked Black Widow. I liked Eternals. I didn't think Eternals was that bad. It was fun.
I want to wait till we see Eternals somewhere else to judge how it went.
It felt to me like, and I told this a little bit to Jamie. We were talking about. It felt to me like it was a good start, right? It's not necessarily like a backstory like they did for 6 different movies of the same character, right? Where Doctor Strange is Iron Man 1 on weed, and Captain Marvel is Iron Man but with women. It's not the same thing over and over again. Which those are fine movies. It's just it's the same thing. It didn't feel like that. It felt like its own story, but it definitely felt like there's more to be told with it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also a Batman fan, but I'm not a big DC. I'm not the DC movies. Wonder Woman was great. Aquaman was good.
My argument has always been this, and Jamie knows this. I've been a staunch defender of this, because I truly believe that, because the Marvel Studios, the way they've done it, Marvel Cinematic Universe, so Marvel movies, their properties are substantially better than the DC Cinematic Universe, but I personally think that DC Comics are a lot better than Marvel Comics.
Yeah, the Christian Bale Batmans are amazing. Mm-hmm. They're amazing.
Batman's almost an outlier as it comes to DC, and I'm stupid excited to see Robert Pattinson. That movie looks.
I agree. I think he'll be very good. I'm not an Affleck fan of his Batman, but I really like Peacemaker, the TV show. It's been great.
I haven't yet seen it. I haven't seen that yet.
I've been waiting.
It's been great, and so this newest Suicide Squad,
it was fantastic.
Was good.
I think
it was the second or third best DC of this. I'm not so excited about. So anyways, I'm a much bigger MCU fan. I watch all those like rumor shows and all that kind of stuff.
They're so much better. And do you have? I don't know if you have Disney Plus or not, but if you watch the shows,
all of it,
Loki,
everything
Loki was amazing. I mean, they're all pretty good, but Loki was just.
Yeah.
Well,
it was miles above the rest of them, and I thought for me.
Wanda.
Well, I thought Wanda was really slow, but then
the
ending of Wanda was amazing. But like from start to finish, Loki was probably the best all the way, or all well rounded for me. And then honestly, the one that was like all gas but not a whole lot of plot was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I felt like that was just straight gas. Like, we're gonna give you lots of action because Wanda gave you lots of plot,
Right.
And then the healthy mixture of Loki.
Yeah, it was. I liked it, but I think Wanda. You know what? Wanda had me so hooked as like, what's going to happen, which is what I really want from, like, what they did at the end of Spider-Man to play the teaser for Doctor. I was like, oh, I'm in, and even the Eternals, like to introduce Blade that way. Awesome.
Right. So just so minutely. I am super excited for. We will get into more nerd stuff later. I know we were going on a serious tangent here, but that's okay. All you listening you're nerds anyway. You're more wrestling nerds than other nerds. We will get you. We'll rope you in. So. All right, so we want to take this time here. Thank you for playing the Impossible games, aptly named, right? But Jeremy, we like to turn it over to you. Now is your time. It's Plug City. Plug away.
Plug away. So you can follow 2econd Wrestling at 2econd Wrestling. Second with a 2 instead of an S. At Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have just started up a YouTube page a couple weeks ago. We'll eventually probably be on TikTok, but I just don't have the time. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
You can find me at Rabbi Jeremy Fine, mostly on Twitter or on my Facebook page. And then my website, The Great Rabino. If you have any interest in Jews and sports, that's the place to go. It's one of the only places to go. So that's
there you go.
But most importantly, with 2econd Wrestling, we have our big show, our next big show, Flood Zone, on March the 6th. Doors are at 1, shows at 2. It's an afternoon show. We'll be in Northbrook, Illinois. Same venue, different, same location, different venue. They have 2 spots. We're not using the gym. We're using more of this other kind of cool room, which we think will be a little bit more intimate. And like we said, Zach Gowen, Eric Cannon, Dak Draper, Laney Luck, a whole host of characters who will be there, talent, perfect, and of course Billy Starks and Riley Jackson as well. So we can't forget about them, and then we'll crown that. We'll put that beautiful belt on someone, and then see where it goes.
There you go. Tickets
are on Eventbrite. Front row I think is $30, and general admission is $20, I think.
I believe that's right from what I saw from your post.
Yeah, I think it's 20, and of course, if you've never been out, it's a great thing to just bring the kids. I mean, that's the kind of cool piece, is that we're doing something a little different, and there's a lot of great wrestling promotions in Chicago. We're just hopefully to be in the mix. That's really our goal.
For those of you watching, links for everything he just mentioned down below. If you're listening to us, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever, just go to our YouTube. Go to look Total Spotfest Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. I'll have them all listed down below there. Or use your Google Foo.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Again, if you're ever coming to Chicago, let me know. Whatever you do, if you tag 2econd Wrestling, we'll share it. I have my own podcast. It's a sad story, but podcast was great. I was building up, and my dream was to basically have Bob Saget on the show. And I had him, and he was my last guest. Wow. So if you want to hear Bob Saget as a human being, not just as a comedian or Danny Tanner, go to my podcast, The Religion of Human Nature, and watch him as a real person. And he is everything that you are hearing about.
That's awesome.
And so that was the last time I did the podcast, because we still haven't been set up. And now I don't know that I ever want to record again, because he was just, or that show, like, he was just.
That is a good note to end on if you do decide.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, I said to my wife, she's like, if you could have anyone, like Bob Saget or Michael Jordan. Well, I got one of them. I don't think Jordan's coming out. Anyways, so, the podcast, that's kind of dumb. But I think it's a really great,
Listen to it. That link's down below, too. Do all the links, people, please.
Okay.
Please.
Oh, we're still recording. We
are still going, and we're almost done here. Yeah. Well, Yeah,
Good.
the next half hour is going to be more promotion. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, but if you want your own Total Spotfest tee, of course, totalspotfest.com, go to the merch table. So, thank you for your time. Please give 2econd Wrestling a follow. Give them a shout. If you're in the Chicagoland area, going to be in the Chicagoland area, want to go see a show in Chicago that's family friendly, check it out, March 6th. Tickets available and more dates in the future. Thank you for your time. We do appreciate it. We wish you best of luck with everything. Hope to see you very soon. Jamie, why don't you take us home?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not down with Total Spot Fest, I have 3 words for you. Flood zone, baby.
It's a hyphenated word, but it counts.
It does.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Peace.